It's a new year, and what better time to get started on new garden projects? I've made a list of 10 of the things that I want to accomplish this year, and I'm going to challenge you to get started in your garden. Now, I have to tell you, I already started on one of them, so I'm going to talk about that project in a little bit. But first of all, I'm just going to stop things right here and say thank you to all the new subscribers and all my subscribers that have been with me from the very beginning of Garden Discovery. You guys are great, and I love you so much. Thank you for your support. I read every single comment, and I try to respond to every single comment that you put there. Let's get to the other 9 things that I want to accomplish in this garden this year. When I first started this garden, the first section of garden I did was this strip closest to the house. And while it's doable, it's okay, it has its flaws. I wasn't that experienced. Had I a little bit more experience with landscaping, I would have known that the middle sections where the rock is needs to be lower, at least level with the walkway. Because what I have is I have the rocks constantly falling and the mulch is falling in, and it just creates a total mess on the walkway. So what I need to do to rectify this is either level out that area where the rocks sit on so that it's level with the walkway, or getting some edging to go along that to level it out and keep the rocks at bay so they're not falling in and the mulch, and that would lessen it. So I'm still thinking about that. It's a huge project. It would be more if I try to level it out, or to try to fix it with the edging might work. So that's going to take some thought, and we'll see what happens with that. That's one thing on my list that I really want to accomplish, is getting this walkway all tidy and making it look a little fresher. And it really needs to be done because it's an eyesore. I also need to tackle the garden shed. I've talked about it in previous videos, and this shed is a mess. It's a complete disaster in there. And yeah, so I even have some storage shelves that I'm using right now indoors. Once the weather's better, I'll be moving those seedlings outdoors so that they can grow and prosper outside. And then I can move that shelving inside after it's cleaned. That's the key point. I've got to actually clean it, get it tidy, put the shelves in, and it's going to make things so much more efficient. It's going to make me more efficient in the garden. So it's something I just need to get to. And along the same lines as tackling the shed is decluttering the garden, because I am the queen of clutter. I have my clutter piles. Getting the shed all cleaned out is going to help a lot. There's things that I could be getting rid of. Empty nursery pots, weeds. I need to throw those in the bin. Why don't I throw them in the bin? They're sitting in a nursery pot and they could go in the bin. They're weeds. They need to go in the bin. Kelly, just walk your way to the bin. That's all you've got to do. One of the easiest things on my list by far is to give more plants away. Well, that's kind of easy for me and I love to do it. I should be doing it more. We should do the things that give us joy and could bring joy to other people. So that's on my list as well, is to start more propagation and get some more plants going that I can share with other people. I love to propagate. It's one of my favorite things to do. And why I'm not sharing more, I just don't know. I guess I just don't think about it. I'm going to make an effort to get that done, to give more plants away, and to inspire other people to garden, because that's what I'm all about. Well, this structure does its job in keeping the deer out, and that's the purpose, is keeping the deer away from my lovely, lovely greens. But it's unsightly. I hate it just because it's unsightly. It does its job once again. It's not a priority, but it does bug me. I think when you're in your garden, it should be a place where you really enjoy being there. And one of the things that bothers me is this. It's just completely a mess, and I want to find a way to get this changed and get something more solid and that's going to look really nice and make the garden just so much more presentable to both you and me. Because it's really important that your garden is a place where you want to be. And so you need to make sure that you're getting to those things that you think is an eyesore, because it bothers you. It just builds up and builds up. So you need to take care of that. An important project for me to get going in this garden this year before summer hits is try and put some more shade, offer more shade for the plants, because in the summer, when the drought comes, when the heat hits in, It's really a terrible thing in the garden, I have to tell you. If you don't go through the drought and really long months with no rain, it is a really difficult thing for any garden to go through. The past year was the hardest hit I've ever had here in the garden. So I want to make an effort, a low budget effort, to try and provide my plants with more shade in the garden. So that's a key thing as well. I started by getting a pine tree from Maribel at Iron Pony Nursery. And the other day I went to Lowe's and I picked up on sale one of their Christmas tree pines. And so I'm planning on planting that in the garden as well. Eventually that will offer shade, but it won't offer shade for several years. This hillside here is another project that I want to get to in the garden. And it's going to take some time. I won't be able to complete it this year, that I know, because as well, I'm a budget gardener. What happens is the weeds grow like crazy this time of year when we get rain and through to the spring. And they get this high and it's so hard to control. And then you get the seed heads and they're going everywhere and you're getting more weeds in your garden because the seeds are flying around in the air. I need to get this managed. I need to get some ground covers put in. I need to put some aeoniums in, whatever I can find. But this slope, it really needs protection, not just from the weeds, but from erosion as well. So maybe the weeds are helping with the erosion right now, but it's not aesthetically pleasing to me. So I want to take care of that as well. Now we've come to the project that I already started. So just the other day, I started this little section right here. So this section has always kind of bothered me because it's just not built up. I can't have height because of where the chairs are, right there in the garden. I want that to be a focal point at that level. So I don't want anything really tall blocking that view. I'm plugging plants in around the rocks that I added in, and we're going to get something visually a little more pleasing to me, because that's the important part, is that your garden really needs to please you and your family, the people who are going to be spending the time in the garden. And another garden project that I have in mind is to do more propagation. I want to stop buying so many plants because I spent way too much money on plants last year and I need to cut back on that. I love to propagate anyway, so there's no use me spending all that money when I can propagate myself. Just like this guy. It needs to be propagated. It needs to spread its love around. So propagating is another thing that I do a lot in the garden, but I need to start doing more and more of it, so I can share, so I can grow the garden without spending money. And so that's another project that I'm going to be doing throughout the year, because I really do love propagating, and I do it. You see me do propagation all the time in the videos, and it's because it gives me a lot of joy to be able to do it, to start new plants for the garden, and why not start them for somebody else's garden too. I'm also going to be adding more shrubs to the garden. That's really important to me. Number one, it's going to help me to provide some shade to lower growing plants, and that's going to overall health of the garden. And I picked this guy up and two others just like him from Jose at J.C.Nursery last week. And oh my gosh, this smells so good. It's called Rue. Oh, it's got this lemony, really beautiful fragrance, and once I smelled that, I had to go back and I had to get some. I was talking to Jose and I had snipped off a bit because he said it smelled good, so I snipped off a bit. He knew that I did, and that scent is so beautiful. So Rue is what it's called, and it's gorgeous. I love this, and it's supposed to get some yellow flowers on it, so I'm looking forward to that. So more shrubs in the garden this year is a priority, but I have to do it cost effectively. Fortunately, J.C.Nurseries has great prices. So if you live locally, go out and see Jose at J.C.Nurseries in Gilroy. He's going to give you a great deal. Tell him that Kelly sent you. Here's a lot of garden projects for me to get started on, and I hope I've inspired you to get out there and get your list going of garden projects. It doesn't have to be as long. It doesn't have to be something that you get to right away. But, one of the sayings that I really like is, if you aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time. And the opposite is true. If you start making a list, make your goals, and you're going to get something accomplished. Maybe you won't get all of them done, and that's okay, but set yourself up for success. Make yourself a list and get to some of those things that really bug you in the garden, some of the things, the projects that you want done, and just kick some butt on that garden. But I tend to get cluttery with it. Is that a word? Cluttery?